All right, welcome in.
Yeah. This is yours to start.
We didn't know if it was 57 or 58.
Yeah, 58.
That's what happens when you have a very busy time.
Yeah.
Welcome into Are You Cirrus? Thanks for stopping in for another episode. He's Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold. I'm Meteorologist Andrew Dockery. And is it Friday?
Man. Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
A lot going on, you know. That thing, oh yeah. Can we talk about this? How great this is. I'm so proud of this. I love this so much.
First off, some exciting things coming soon.
Yeah.
I think we could say that.
Yeah, which is
where this came from and what this is for. But first off, where did you get this?
I got this at Lowe's. It was $20. I was looking for lighting fixtures over the weekend.
That's awesome.
Walking down the lighting aisle and saw this thing sitting there. I was like, I'm getting that.
Yeah, that's
$20.
fantastic.
So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, a new element to Are You Serious? Talk about high quality production.
Yeah.
This is it. Look at that lighting.
With some rechargeable batteries, we made it. Oh man! Well, thanks for joining in. We've kind of teased this throughout the newscast, even earlier this week.
Yeah.
Very open discussion about almost Helen, which I think we can really dive into here, which is going to be great. You posted something on Facebook, which sparked a whole range of suggestions and comments. And when I tell you it's the most we've ever had, we're going to try to get to them all. But let's just recap and kind of talk about this before we get into the discussion.
And, I always kind of go through like a post-mortem every time we have a big event.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something about this one just kind of sat heavy with me just because the messaging was tough because of, it wasn't a tropical storm. It didn't have a name. We thought it was going to get a name, but it didn't. And then it ended up overperforming in a massive way just north of us. That could easily have been us. Obviously, we're talking about the coastal storm back on Monday. They got 16 to 20 inches of rain in Brunswick County.
Yeah.
Literally 30 miles made all the difference. Brunswick County, yeah, there's a lot of people up there, but it's also still pretty rural. Can you imagine if we had had 21 inches of rain in Myrtle Beach coming down
news.
in 8 hours?
Yeah.
The amount of property damage that would have been done by that flood had it been 30 miles south is scary.
How far inland it would have extended to. Especially with the rapid development. And
imagine if that band had set up along 501. Myrtle Beach, Carolina Forest, Conway, 16 to 20 inches of rain in less than 12 hours. Would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Consider, the development around here. We've talked about that. The growth here, the amount of people that it would have impacted compared to, again, not downplaying what happened to the people in Brunswick County, but population-wise, development-wise, had that band set up over 501, man, it would have been bad.
Really bad. We talk about, we live in a marsh area. We get rain, double-digit rain at that, from a tropical system, and we're going to have some flooding issues. But you get what they got in a matter of 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's big-time issues, and they're still... The thing that I think that is catching a lot of flack is, and to be fair, and this was brought up in the comments, and we'll get to that, the schools up there, not all of them canceled.
Yeah.
To be fair, the night before, I kind of thought we were going to get it. I didn't think we were going to get that.
Yeah, but it looked like we were going to get the brunt, and honestly, our forecast was good enough Sunday night, bad enough, that I thought closing schools, we kind of expected it.
Yeah, 100%.
A tropical storm warning was issued. We were expecting maybe 40, 50 mile per hour gusts, maybe up to 6 inches of rain. That'll cause some issues. You don't want kids out in that. Made sense to me.
Yeah. We go into this, and we'll talk about the subtropical characteristics and all that, but we started with our first alert weather day, and even when we came in on Monday, because we made the call, we said, let's just be prepared.
Yeah.
Because there did look to be like there would be an axis of heavy rain somewhere in the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Most models coming in Sunday night, even throughout the weekend, had that axis obviously to the northeast, a little disoriented, which is very typical with the weak tropical storm or even a subtropical storm. But what I think really took place is that low pressure, where the heaviest rain band was set up on the model data, was actually a little bit pulled away.
Yeah.
The low placement was pretty good when it came to the models.
Yeah.
The heaviest rain band wasn't.
Right.
And that's where we started to notice, even leading up to the show, what's going on with this weird little circulation here with all this heavy band of rain?
Yeah.
And I thought at one point, okay, if this is working more to the northwest, this might be pivoting into Horry County. We quickly realized about 5:30. And I don't know if it was you or me first, but I remember looking to you too and saying Highway 9 Northeast.
Yeah. And we sort of made the effort during the morning show
to really
that was going to be like our message. Like, all right, you know, I know last night it looked like it was going to be Horry County, but now it's basically state line north. By that morning, it was pretty clear. And you mentioned that cluster of thunderstorms. It was intense over the ocean, just insane amount of lightning, which is, we always say you get lightning with a tropical or developing tropical system, and you're cranking out insane rainfall rates. And it was doing it out there over the ocean, and it did it all day long until it came ashore, and even after.
From 5:30, 5:45 until 1:30, 2 p.m.
Yeah.
They continue to pick up on the brunt of it. And here's the crazy thing. It wasn't like it was some breaks in between.
No.
It was steady tropical moisture. We call it a fire hose effect. Typically, when you get that coming in off the Atlantic, someone gets in on that big amount. You made the call, and we talked about it. You know, I don't think our threat's going to be that high.
Yeah.
And I was totally fine with it. I said, listen, when's the last time you get to chase?
Yeah.
You're always here.
Yeah.
So you're like, do you care if I go? I was like, no. I mean, at this point, I have to sit and just.
Yeah. We had finished the morning show, and I did. The geek in me.
Yeah,
I wanted to be up there, but I also thought, you know, when I had used this to convince my boss, I was like, you know, I can do a lot more good up there than I can here posting radar images. So, I made the call to go up there.
Let's talk about going up there. Because I was like, oh, this is going to be great, because there's only so much you can post through a storm. And we even talked about this on the morning show, and maybe we could have did a better job on it with social media. We start to urge, okay, hey, if the heaviest rain is shifting to the north, Surfside, Garden City, Murrells Inlet, Pawleys Island, you may not even get an inch.
Yeah.
We probably could have posted that, but there's only so much you can do when the activity is missing you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're relieved, but what else are you going to do, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, I could, from here, stop by my house. I was in Southport in 45 minutes.
Oh, so walk me through. You get up into Southport, and once you got there, I could tell.
It was already starting once I got there. And it was already pretty bad flash flooding. And I'm telling you, I was getting looked after that day. I'm not kidding. I made a decision as I was pulling into Southport. The flash flooding was already beginning. My original goal was to get down to the Southport waterfront because I wanted to be on the water. I wanted to see it blast in and off the water, get some good wind. That's kind of what I was looking for on my trip up there. But quickly realized I was not getting into Southport. And I knew if I got into Southport, I may not get out because it was already flooding that bad. So I backtracked real quick, started going up Highway 133, which is a little highway that takes you from Southport all the way up to Wilmington. And that's when I got into the meat of that core and some of the most persistent heavy rain I've experienced. And I've chased a lot of tropical storms, chased a lot of hurricanes. It was intense. And we were talking about the lightning. It was constant and nonstop and gusting 40, 50 miles per hour. And, the water was coming up insanely fast there along Highway 133. And there was one point where I had to make kind of a tough call that I didn't like to make.
Yeah.
And I kept running through my head the headline, local meteorologist, car washes off road. But I had to make that call. Because if I didn't, I was spending the night there. And
if you didn't, I think you're stranded on top of your car.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I made a decision. There was a car behind me. We chit-chatted with each other like, all right, I'm going to do it. You watch me. And if I get across, I'm going to watch you. If something happens, we're here for each other. Like it was that sort of a situation. Did it. And then the roads were closing literally behind me all the way up to Wilmington. My original plan was to go up to Wilmington, slip back down 17, call it a day. Because I thought at the time it looked like that core was just going to kind of blast through,
Yeah, 100%.
and be over and done. And the more I drove, it just kept coming and coming and coming and rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding, and it ended up taking like 6 hours to get back home. So it was crazy. It was crazy.
Even when I got off at like 12:45, 1, you got stuck again trying to get back. So how did you end up getting back? Because 17 shut down.
17 shut down. I don't even know.
Oh, God.
I don't even know. I ended up I had to get on 76 West, 74, 76 West, 74 West out of Wilmington. Ended up in Columbus County.
Okay.
Didn't quite make it to Whiteville. And then literally just had to take country roads and back roads all the way back down. And somehow I ended up on Highway 9. Which was great.
I was curious if you were going to go to like Whiteville, Tabor City, Dolores. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. And just flooding the whole way.
One of our friends, Joe Katz, he was stranded for 14 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
17 was closed overnight, closed that morning.
We got to get something done. Not we. That 17.
That area.
There's that place in Brunswick County where 17 notoriously floods. We got to get that fixed.
Yeah.
17's too important.
Hundreds of people stranded, especially with people going from Ori to Brunswick.
Yeah.
It brings up the discussion. Oh, man, this is just... So, through the weekend, Charleston was even preparing for potential impacts. That market. We could kind of flip the script here. So, Charleston went from impacts, potential tropical system, potential tropical cyclone, Brunswick, Wilmington. Hey, it looks like it's going to be to our south. Us, here we go. We're going to get some rain. We're going to get some wind. It's not going to be the worst we've ever seen, but it belongs. Shifts happen. We know that. I think the public knows that based off of your comments. For the most part, there's always one or two Karens, but you shift all that, and it's almost like it took people by surprise. And I think that's where it doesn't set up well with us.
Yeah.
Per se.
Yeah.
So you posted on Facebook and Spark Notes version. What did you post?
Yeah, really long for me. I like
really
to keep,
long.
I like to
Really
keep things,
long.
I like to keep things really short and sweet on Facebook, but I just sat out on the patio the morning after and just kind of let my thoughts flow, and something's not right. We got to do something better about the messaging. Because, as I mentioned in that post, if you haven't seen it, go back and read it. I don't want to take up the whole podcast doing it, but, technically, from the National Hurricane Center, that system was designated as potential tropical cyclone number 8. That's a lot of words, and there's one word in particular in there that's kind of scary to people: cyclone. Cyclone doesn't make sense. Cyclone conjures up a tornado or a typhoon in the Pacific, or something hitting on some other part of the world that's really bad. The reality is, cyclone refers to any area of low pressure.
Yeah.
Any area of low pressure. A tornado is a cyclone, a hurricane's a cyclone, a nor'easter is a cyclone, a tropical depression is a cyclone. They're all cyclones in the scientific community. National Hurricane Center, National Weather Service are very scientific. That's great. That's great internally, but it doesn't work for messaging to the public.
And when we go into hurricane season, first off, there's been 8 of these.
8 potential tropical cyclones.
Let that sink in. And this is not going to be I just want to make sure this is not going to be a diss on the National Hurricane Center or the National Weather Service in preparation for this. But, and I even texted you this, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck,
call it a duck.
If it looks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Here's another thing that I think confuses people.
Let's go back real quick, though.
Okay.
Let's talk about why potential tropical cyclones were developed. Because in situations like what we had with this system and with other systems, you have something that looks like it's going to develop into a tropical depression or a tropical storm, and it's close to land.
Correct.
And it's going to bring impacts to land areas, but it's not a tropical system yet. But you need to get the warning out. That's what this was for.
Correct.
And we did a little Facebook Live thing the other night, and I used sort of a worst case example. Imagine it's a really busy weekend in the summer in Myrtle Beach. Mm-hmm. We've got a cluster of thunderstorms offshore.
Yep.
All the models in the pattern says this is going to develop into a tropical storm and potentially a hurricane, and it's going to do so quickly. There needs to be something to get people aware that something is coming. Although it hasn't formed yet, something is coming. Confidence is very high that something is coming. So that's where potential tropical cyclone was developed. Once it's declared that, the National Hurricane Center issues forecast tracks. As we saw over the weekend, you can issue watches and warnings. We went under a tropical storm warning, even though it had not become a tropical storm and never did become a tropical storm.
That's where the caveat comes in, too, is you're under a tropical storm warning for something you may not even see technically. For, even though you can experience tropical storm conditions.
Yes.
It's misleading. It's misleading. So let's talk real quick about why wasn't this a tropical storm? Right. And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
I have my arguments about that too, but
same.
Yeah.
The National Hurricane Center works very closely with hurricane hunters.
Yes.
Hurricane hunters, remember, are basically a group of meteorologists and scientists that fly into these hurricanes, these tropical storms, these depressions, these tropical waves. It can be anything that has the potential to become a tropical system. They were in that, when I mean vigorously, I mean going up, and I don't think at one point there was ever a plane that wasn't in that storm between the different surveys.
They were looking really hard.
To
see if this was a tropical storm.
It got to the point at 5:30, even 3:30s survey around the storm, because they will cut this through Monday morning. They need a defined center of circulation. If we don't have that, what this means is this storm is probably still hanging on to a frontal boundary somewhere. Tropical storms do not hang on to frontal boundaries.
Right.
They are all fixated on warm water, and they dwell on warm water only.
Warm water only. And the core of a tropical system is warm.
Correct.
It is warm. It is warmer and more humid than outside of it.
Correct.
That is what makes a tropical system a tropical system. It's fed, and its strength comes from warm water. They were looking for that to happen. That system formed on an old front, cold front that stalled out over the ocean. And as you mentioned, it was over warm waters, warm enough waters to support a tropical system, but it was still cooler in the center than it was outside, which instantly eliminates it being a tropical system. And it still had frontal features. In fact, not your typical frontal features that you would look at with a big cold front, but that fire hose in Brunswick County was basically the cold front of that system. And
that is where this gets tricky. They never found the center of circulation. It got down to one quadrant off. That 3:30 in the morning flying around was missing one little quadrant where the front was still hanging on. Otherwise, this thing had it.
Yeah.
It had the look. It was producing tropical storm force winds well into the core of the storm.
Yeah. It had a huge wind field.
Which brings us to this point of we still didn't see Tropical Storm Helen.
Yeah.
And because we didn't get a name, the question is, were people prepared enough?
Yeah.
Does naming a storm raise the red flag for the local viewers?
I got a lot of comments on that post, and even just people, friends of mine, who were like, yeah, I didn't even know anything was going on until Sunday afternoon when we got the tropical storm warning. Just unaware.
That's the concern.
Unaware.
That's the concern.
So yeah, I'm sure there are internal discussions going on at the Hurricane Center, the National Weather Service, as there always are. They're always trying to verify and see what they can do better. But something has to be done better about the messaging with systems like that.
So we're certainly not social scientists.
Right.
It's going to take social science and actual science and the experts at the National Hurricane Center. When I say experts, I mean it. They are fantastic.
They are.
At what they do to determine what to do. We made a decision a couple of years ago to stray away from potential tropical cyclone because it screams hype.
It screams hype, and people don't understand it, and it scares people. So we try to do something different. We did, Debbie started off as a potential tropical cyclone. We called it Developing Debbie. This system, we decided to call it soon to be Helene. Maybe that wasn't the right choice, considering that it didn't become Helene. And now the next storm that forms is going to be Helene.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we just call it Developing Tropical Storm and not use a name?
Yeah.
There's just a lot to talk about and think about.
So you posted that. You asked, does this make sense? What do you interpret when you see this? What are some things you would like to see from us? We're going to read some of those comments. Before we get to the comments, I just posted on Twitter. Twitter's full of weather.
Oh, yeah.
Weather enthusiasts.
Yeah.
So I knew I would get some people that said yes and some people that say no. Does potential tropical cyclone make sense to the public? If not, what can we do to change it? 50% yes, 50% no. You might think, okay, that's still 50% of the people that don't think the public understands, which is a concern. It's the whole reason we changed the Storm Prediction Center from slight, moderate, enhanced, margin. We just level 1, level 2, level 3.
The science community in meteorology, and I think in all branches of science, especially where science interacts with the public, big communication issues.
Yeah.
Really big communication issues.
There's not a lot of questions in these.
It's comments.
Some of these are comments, but I think when we see other people's comments and concerns, ideas will probably come from it. This is from Jesse Marlowe. I never thought it felt like hype, the coverage. I value the information that you all gave. I actually thought it turned out like you all said it would. Just the landing of where it happened shifted in my mind. Actually, I feel like there was so little hype with the system, I wasn't aware that it could be an issue until schools canceled classes. That's coming in from Jesse.
I love Jesse. Friend of mine.
Jesse coming in. Don Baker, maybe the wording like potential tropical storm Helene with clarifying phrasing like it isn't a tropical storm yet, but could become one would make more sense.
Which we did until we were blue in the face.
But did we not do it enough? By comments like that, did we not do it enough? I feel like every time I showed a map, I had to say, it's not there yet, but it likely will be. And that's another thing, too, is maybe, because some of these comments, I don't watch every day. And we've been told that by research.
Yeah.
Maybe it's even on our graphics when we're not talking about it. It needs to be there.
Yeah.
Also, I loved this one. Sharon said, your podcasts are a great tool for public education on weather. Thank you. This is awesome. I took the Storm Spotters class at WNBF years ago, which was amazing, and listened to only you all in your forecasts. Others may be confusing to some. You're clear in your descriptions and potential weather threats. Some people, I've realized, tend to half listen, especially when I'm out and about. They hear a word and they run with it with panic. If everyone would stay informed and follow you, they would understand the potential impacts. I appreciate you and your team. That's coming in from Sharon.
It would make it so easy if everybody did keep up, but everybody doesn't keep up.
That's
and it's okay.
Struggle. Yeah.
It's okay. Everybody's busy living their lives. It's hard to keep up. As we've had some of our really big events around here, I've had this overwhelming wish that I could pick up the phone and call every single person and say, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
No, you can't.
You can't. And then my brain flips and I say, do I need to worry about it? We're doing the best we can. We're putting out every amount of information we possibly can. Sometimes to the point where it may be too much. We're putting out every aspect of a storm that's coming, a big storm that's coming. Wind, rain, surge, tornado threat. And we're doing it over and over and over with every update that comes out. We're sending out all the information that we possibly can. Does there come a point where if you're not getting it, that's not our fault? And I'm not trying to be short about that. But
I agree.
If you're not keeping up with it, I can't help it. The information is there, whether it's me, whether it's the other guys, it's out there. If you're not getting it, that's not my fault.
And the forecast matched up
Yeah.
fairly well.
And also, we've mentioned this many times on this podcast, a forecast that comes out on Monday is going to change a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially with something as fickle as a developing tropical storm. What the initial forecast is not going to be what the final outcome is. These things change. You can't look at Monday's forecast and say, oh, they said we're going to get 50-mile-per-hour winds and 10 inches of rain Friday, and then not pay attention to it again for 4 more days.
Especially with everything that changes like these systems.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No. This is what this is for. So, and I don't bring this up. I'm not, on some of these, I'm only going to say first names. Only because I want listeners and viewers to understand, like, the internal battle we're facing. Like this posted in from Ann, which is great. Ann, thank you for the comment. Don't feel singled out. There's many more. I believe this particular storm, Helene, was not given the consideration it should have been. I personally feel like it would bring some flooding, but not nearly to the level that I saw on pics of friends and others that posted. I really feel like the media community did not adequately prepare the people. Just my thoughts.
I'm going to be careful.
I don't know what else we could have done.
We started talking about this system Wednesday, even a week out, Monday or Tuesday. 6 to 7 days out, we started talking about it.
Which is impressive.
By Friday, we started really hitting it home, and I know people tend to tune out a little bit on the weekend. Maybe that was part of it. The weekend, people aren't as in tune as they normally would be.
Which I can tell you right now, if you don't have our app, we were posting religious to the point where I was like, okay, I get it. But hearing this,
still wasn't enough.
I know.
Still wasn't enough.
This one does bring up a really good thing that we've talked about before on this podcast. This is from Diana. This soon-to-be Helene graphic, as misleading as the cone, just seemed to be so far south of where all the havoc caused. If you look at that cone only, it will mislead you time after time after time. When I saw the cone, I thought it would be a nothing burger for Brunswick County, and the worst of this would be in Georgetown and Horry County. We tried to address that on Monday morning, and I think there's an issue that I think there's this issue where people think we know what the storm's going to look like 3 days out. We don't. So this cone comes through, we can kind of get a feel, but we don't know on Saturday or Sunday that it's going to be disoriented that much.
But it also serves as an excellent learning tool, in that the cone that we show only shows where the center of that potential system is going to go. Only the center. The center did end up coming into Horry County. Came right over Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach, where nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. That was the center of the storm. Right around what? Midday? 2 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
Made landfall, and it was cloudy and breezy, a little mist and drizzle. Meanwhile, it's, all hell's breaking loose in Brunswick County. That's, again, another issue with the cone, which leads me to this. Should we have even shown a cone? Should we have made our own cone? That gets tricky.
I don't hate that, but how's that? And this is where the perception of science community, communication community, because what we did, loved it, by the way, drawing our core. Maybe we should have just ran with that. Granted, now here's the caveat to that. For whoever brought that up, we wouldn't have known so many days out. So that still requires people to be tuned in for the changes. But I don't mind it.
Yeah.
If that's what it's going to have to take.
Yeah.
And just plaster it. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Most people understand what tropical storms can ramp up to hurricanes. What I don't understand is what is before a tropical storm. Is low pressure with rotation and heavy rain bands a pre-tropical storm? Was this similar to a December cane? I think it's the no name that's confusing me. That's from Randy.
Yeah, Randy, very similar to the December cane.
Yeah,
a strong area of low pressure. December cane.
That's what we called it, December cane.
Yeah, it had fronts. We called it December cane because I think that kind of got the message across that this thing is going to pack a real punch. It didn't have a name. That one didn't need a name because it was not a tropical system. We can at times get really intense areas of low pressure. And this thing that we had on Monday was similar to December cane. But then again, if you're in the middle of hurricane season and something is bringing tropical storm force winds and a potential for tornadoes and the potential for flooding rain, for the sake of the viewing public, let's call it a tropical storm.
Yeah.
Internally, if you don't classify it within the National Hurricane Center and if it doesn't officially go into the archives and the history of every tropical system in the Atlantic, that's okay. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, our point and their point and the National Weather Service point is to protect the public.
Yeah, 1,000%. We have people that are a godsend like Aaron. Aaron says, I think one of the biggest issues is people who don't follow the weather until it's a named storm.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
Yeah.
All weather outlets, especially you all, reported this for a week. I remember Jamie on Monday, Monday, talking about this coming, but so many people were saying this came out of nowhere. I think a big issue for that was because schools didn't close until the night before, mm-hmm. which, once again, we've addressed. However, this is now the second storm this season that I'm afraid the public's going to view as a bust mm-hmm. and won't take any future storms seriously. I don't envy you guys enough. I think you have to be prepared regardless, so what you all are doing is fantastic. It's very accessible and helpful.
Is that Aaron from Olanta?
Aaron Rader?
Oh, no. Different Aaron. But thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What about potential tropical storm or potential tropical system? Potential tropical cyclone seems like it's supposed to strike some fear and be led by the media, which I love. But I also understand the uncertainty that it makes it sound like, which is kind of why I hate the name to begin with. If you're forecasting it, call it as it is.
I'm starting to think that from here on out, if this happens again, we don't put a potential name to it.
Okay.
And we call it developing tropical system, potential tropical storm.
Yeah.
Something we can have an internal conversation about.
Coastal storm.
Maybe just potential tropical storm.
Yeah. This one says the same thing. I think the soon-to-be Helen can be misleading, but I understand people associate preparation with the name. If potential tropical storm was on the graphic, would people prepare as much as they did? If not, could be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
That come again from Callie.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically what all of this is. I don't know. I really thought long and hard about it, and I don't know. Ooh, this is a good one.
Oh, boy.
I guess some of the issue might be depending on which channel you were watching or where you get your news source from. It was not talked about in any great amount as they do for hurricanes. However, I think WMBF delivered it to the best. Now the question becomes, how did the stations up in Brunswick County prepare for it? Because technically, we don't. It's tough. We don't technically go into Brunswick County, but we have a lot of people that commute into Brunswick County that watch us.
I don't know how much I want to say here.
Yeah, I get it.
I'll say this. Whenever we have a big event coming, a tropical system, a tropical storm, a hurricane, a threat of severe weather, mm-hmm. our approach to preparing is, in the initial preparation phase, go big.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Go big. If we need that much coverage, then we're ready. If the system changes and our impacts are less, it's much easier to scale back than it is to scale up and to ramp up when you're in the middle of a big event. A lot of stations in Wilmington mm-hmm. had to ramp up really quick. We ramped down. We had a plan in place. Mm-hmm. We spent all day Sunday coming up with the plan for what was going to happen on Monday. We made the decision that I would be in Monday morning. You and I would tag team on the morning show. We brought Jenna in. Our entire meteorology staff was in on Monday.
We even talked about let's go big just in case we need to ramp up or back off if we have to.
Yeah, let's go really big, because also the timing of it looked like Monday morning could be really nasty. That's a nasty time to have 50-mile-per-hour winds and flooding rain. So we staffed big, we planned big, and then we kind of eased back through the day. That's how we plan. How other stations do it, how other markets do it, I don't know. But I do know that a lot of the Wilmington TV stations were not ready.
A lot of these comments say thank you for not putting Cyclone in there, which is good.
Good.
We were talking about broadcasting Brunswick. We've addressed that.
Wish we could get Brunswick County.
Trust me, I do too.
Honestly do. I wish we could get Brunswick County. Technically, it's in the Wilmington market. Our signal isn't really strong up there, but these days there's workarounds with that, and I don't really understand that part of it.
I don't either.
I don't know how deep into Brunswick we go.
So I don't either, and if someone, by all means, is listening in Brunswick County and you get us, let us know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be streaming.
Yeah.
But let us know. I know you can now stream us 24/7 on our website. You could always do that, but it's on the homepage now to where you can click that.
Because especially the southern half of Brunswick County, they deal more with the Grand Strand than they do with Wilmington. You know, you may live in, especially once you're south of Southport and Boiling Springs Lake, you know, Shallotte, Calabash, those areas, they do all their day-to-day living in Horry County. They have a doctor's appointment, they have a dentist, they have big shopping, they're coming down here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would love to have Brunswick County
Same.
as part of our viewing area.
And if there's a way that, you know, we can somehow figure that out, let us know. We would love to be helping out with that.
They feel more like us than they do Wilmington.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I just think because it's just so close.
It's so close.
I mean, it's a rock's throw. April O'Leary, do you know her?
I know the name.
Yeah, me too, and I don't know why. That's why I asked you.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's wrong with all this is some folks in the community make claims against meteorologists hyping like this weekend. We're a very transient community, and many residents are new to the area. In fact, I know some people, this was their first storm. Mm-hmm. Welcome. It happens like this. Communication is vital to ensure we save lives. I think the more you communicate and interact with the community is the best for folks in it. Thanks again for even asking for input and for being an exceptional resource to us all. That should make you feel good.
Aww.
I picked up a couple more. Any significant storm should have a name. That's what Angela thinks.
I don't hate it.
I don't either.
I don't hate it.
Here's the thing, too. If it's close enough.
If it's close enough and it's going to deliver the conditions, why not? Why not?
Now, and maybe there needs to be more communication. And once again, this is not to knock, but maybe there needs to be some more communication between National Weather Service and National Hurricane Center. Mm-hmm. When you're doing this for the National Hurricane Center, obviously they're looking at the core of the storm, but the National Weather Service is already seeing the impacts that storm is producing. Hey, it's Armageddon up here.
There's a meteorologist I follow on Twitter who has a really great sort of threshold for criteria for systems like this. If it's during hurricane season, if it's developing over water temperatures that are 80 or higher, and it's producing tropical storm conditions, call it a tropical storm.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
It's that easy. If it's in the middle of the Atlantic, 4,000 miles away, no, don't worry about it. But if it's heading towards land, over 80-degree water and going to bring tropical storm conditions, call it a tropical storm. Mm-hmm. That's simple. That's as easy as it has to be.
Yeah.
Low pressure, warm water, tropical storm conditions. Done.
You ain't got to tell me twice. Brad and Jill Beck, I think you all did a great job warning us of the possible impacts of the storm. However, some are correct in saying if it's named, it gets more attention versus being named Storm 8. Maybe that's a good thing, though, and I agree. The word cyclone definitely gives more severe, therefore maybe more confusing to the viewer. Overall, can't praise you all enough for doing a fantastic job of warning us for the potential weather. I like potential there better than I do before the name. And the negative commenters on your post just need to stop. It's not helpful to anyone. You'd be surprised. There's a lot. Last but not least, I think this is a good one. First off, great post.
Thank you.
How many times did you read it?
A lot.
This post, ... and the lack of concern or for clarification from other meteorologists in town is how I became your new follower today.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
Elena?
Oh.
Your team chose correctly. Thanks for the education because myself and others were completely confused by the Cyclone terminology and the lack of explanation from others. I think that right there says we're doing a pretty good job.
That was the overall feeling by the end of the day Tuesday.
Yeah, I feel better after reading the comments.
After reading the comments, I thought, okay, I think we're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's always room for improvement, and every system is going to be different, and every system you learn from. But I did feel like, sort of, like I said, at the end of the day, I think, okay,
Yeah.
we're doing the best we can.
I went back and watched our coverage. Just what could we have done better? And I think the biggest regret I have is on that we had 4 minutes remain, whether that's inside baseball. I think we could have taken the track, overlaid future radar, showed future radar where all it was happening, and then a nice transition into the core. Hey, based off this.
Why not? That's too much.
It is too much.
Not show the track.
I mean, I
didn't
didn't,
matter.
and I didn't show the track.
And I think I did.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter because that morning,
So you're saying just don't show it?
that morning, in situations like that,
Yeah.
where the center didn't matter, why show where the center is going?
Yeah.
Because that morning, the cone was Southern Horry,
Yeah.
Georgetown County. And we said verbally through
Oh.
the morning, this is where the
All
center
morning.
goes, but everything is going to be north of the center. South of the center, there's no weather. Then why show it?
Yeah.
Why waste that 15 seconds of air and time saying that when that's 15 seconds that we could have used explaining, if you're along the border, this is where it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean,
Now, a solid hurricane with a tight core and a well-defined, cone until you're blue in the face.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't matter where the center is, why show it?
I like it. I like it.
I'm tired.
Me too. Me too.
Tired. And what's going to be crazy is we're probably going to have Helen next week.
So because we didn't get a name, we're going to have Helen next week.
Yeah. Not saying we're going to have Helen here, but
No,
Helen, Helen will develop.
We're so tired that we're just rambling.
Helen will develop.
Helen will develop, and now you're going to have...
Wait, I thought we had Helen. I thought Helen was last week. Wait, that's... Yeah.
Wait, shouldn't this be, what's F? Friends?
No.
Or sorry, EFGH.
Isaac.
Shouldn't this be Isaac?
Yeah. Although, remember early in the
Yeah,
hurricane
I know.
You remember early in the hurricane
I wasn't
season?
going to say it.
We were talking about names, and I said, Helen?
Or
That
Isaac.
is going to be the one to watch. Helen is the one that I had my eyes on for a big Carolina impact, and Isaac because of Ice Storm.
Well,
but
and I was about
Helen,
to say.
Helen sounds like a Carolina hurricane.
And then I said, if it's not Helen, I like Isaac because of
Yeah.
our track history.
Yeah, we've had a lot of eye history.
We're coming up on it. There's signals out there. Obviously, nothing crazy, but I do think Helen's next week. Probably somewhere near the Gulf or in the Gulf.
And Helen's probably going to be a U.S. threat.
Yeah, I think so.
The real Helen.
The
And it won't be a potential tropical cyclone
No.
based on what we're seeing.
And you know what's crazy about this? When you just think about it, yes, there's been 8
Yeah.
potential tropical cyclones, and every time they issue it, it makes me cringe.
Right.
Just call it a depression, like
Yeah.
something. But with all that being said, we may not see this issue for our area for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, which is fine.
Which is fine, but
Another 500,000 people move here, and we'll have to explain it to them again.
oh, anything you want to add?
No, I'm
I
tired.
feel like it's been a very dense conversation that hopefully we explained well.
Yeah.
Thank you, even to the haters. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? Haters,
I appreciate it.
in some cases, they have a point. Could their message be a little nicer? Yes. We don't care anymore. I don't care. But in some cases, they kind of have a point.
Yeah. Do you remember how we were like, we're not going to do Are You Serious when we have busy tropical systems, yet here we are. It's actually been very good.
That's why we look so bad and sloppy this morning. Oh, rolled out of bed.
Episode 58. We may be back next week.
I don't think we will.
I don't think so either.
But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll play by ear. If
Yeah.
y'all have a question, let us know. We still got a couple in here.
Like, rate, comment, share.
We didn't do any of that.
subscribe. Send money.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.